This is Phil with Android Central, and this is the Sony Xperia Z3v. So here we have the new Sony Xperia Z3 on Verizon. Well, sort of. This is actually the Xperia Z3v, V for Verizon obviously. And while it very much is Sony's latest flagship device on the inside, the outside looks a bit like the previous model, the Xperia Z2, which by the way was introduced just 8 months ago. Now it's a large phone with a 5.2-inch triluminous display, and while the display is pretty gorgeous, it looks good indoors and out, and you can customize it to your liking. The Z3v has front-facing stereo speakers that are surprisingly good for their size. They're tiny little slivers in there on the front of the device, but they're still not as deep or as loud as HTC's boom sound. The sides of the phone are where things get a little weird. They're kind of a mix of soft-touch plastic and chrome, which feels really close to metal. And they've got Sony's trademark round power button on the right. Now, it looks nice enough, but it kind of kills the roundedness that we've enjoyed on the Z3 proper, and it ends up looking more like the Z2. Now, this is a waterproof phone. It's IP65 and IP68 to be exact. And to that end, all of its orifices are covered by flaps with gaskets. And in fact, the micro USB port isn't even labeled. You have to assume that has something to do with the included wireless Qi charging. They really want you to use it. And it's also a really nice feature to have. Now, the software on the Z3v is decidedly Sony. It's a pretty heavy skin full of Sony-specific features, from the home screens and the application launcher to the settings menu. And Verizon's got a bunch of bloatware on board as well. It's worth noting that the PS4 remote software, which lets you easily switch from gaming in your living room to gaming on the go, wasn't yet live for us. Now, the camera is a pretty big deal on the Z3v. Sony's using a 21 megapixel shooter with pictures downsampled to 8 megapixels by default. You can change that if you want. Now, you're pretty much encouraged to use the superior auto mode, which tries to guess what you're shooting and adjust things accordingly. And I'm usually an automatic shooter, but there were times that I wanted to have proper HDR or some other mode, especially because it seemed to struggle a little bit with backlighting. And for that, you'll have to switch over to the manual mode. It's a little hidden, so you'll want to take your time to explore all the camera options. Same goes for the gallery, which gives you a number of ways to sort and share your pictures. A lot of the phones we've used in 2014 have really dialed back on the custom software and taken great pains to keep the look and the feel of the hardware more natural and ergonomic. The Z3v, however, bucks both those trends. It's a big, heavy, solid piece of glass, too really, with a beautiful display and a whole bunch of custom software. Really, our biggest complaint is that for whatever reason, it's not using the design of the proper Z3 that we have in Europe. Whatever the reason, it's still good to see Sony back, and it's still good to see Sony on Verizon with this, the Z3v.